Hi, welcome to the createYES Summit for your environmental sustainability, where your sustainability is about more than just climate change. It's about what can you do in your inner life that can affect the outer world around you. My name is Victoria, and my guests today are Noel and Bob. And Noel and Bob are husband and wife light partners, and they have done so many different things. It's almost hard to say, to start, but they are sacred activists. They're connectors of good, lovers and defenders of Mother Earth. They embody and enhance the light of humanity by working with people and projects and communities. And they love connecting with people who are remembering that our purpose here on earth is to grow, to love, and evolve spiritually. And there's more. Hi, Noel. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Victoria. Great to be with you.
And you. We connected through Pachamama Alliance and the Game Changer Intensive and the Awakening the Dreamer Symposium.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. You showed up with donuts. I remember quite clearly.
Oh, wow.
In Loveland. I drove all the way up to Loveland.
That's right. Loveland, Colorado.
Yes.
Usually spend the summers up there for the last, say, 7 or 8 years, but not this summer. So it's a little different for everyone, but we're sustaining.
Yes. One of the things that I really want to focus on in the next 2 weeks with this summit is the path that people take from what's coming to me as like their old life to this life. And how do you get from there to here? What inspires that transition? What does it take? What are some tools and tips? And Noel, you grew up with 14 kids and you had your PhD and more. And Bob, you had, oh wait.
She didn't have kids.
My mother did.
One of 14 kids. And,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I have 14
more than 14.
I broke out in a sweat when you said that.
It's the funny thing of, anyway. And Bob, you were in the aviation career. And that was what I would call your Western time, your business time, your doing life as our Western world expects us to do. And now you're light workers and you travel. I've known of your travels around in your RV and taking the Awakening the Dreamer Symposium from place to place to place, and your peace, you're planting your peace.
Oh, peace pole.
Peace poles, there we go.
Yeah.
There's so many stories that we can tell in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we did have, we got tricked. Can I say that? Bob had a very intensive, let's just say that Bob was a workaholic. Would you agree?
Yeah, I have to say that.
And we were living in a community where there wasn't, as you mentioned, I do have a PhD and I've done brain research and there wasn't a lot of opportunities in the town that we moved to. So I'll say I was a little bored.
Yeah.
And so, we decided to do this, or I decided to do some personal development. Well, I say I got tricked because I got into personal development, but that kind of led into, I met my first spiritual teacher, and told to my surprise, my workaholic husband said,
What did I say?
He said, I signed up for some stuff, and he says, well, I'm going to sign up too.
Oh, good.
I said, what? And he says, well, if you're going to change, I'm going to change with you.
For us, because
me chills.
Yeah, that was a big thing for us because I really had just been on this I guess it's a treadmill. Looking back on it now, it didn't feel like it at the time because I was having fun. We both have our pilot's licenses. We've owned airplanes for like 35 years, our own airplane. We were developing a residential air park in our spare time in addition to my full-time job with an aviation organization. We got to travel places in the world. We got to fly our own airplane. And so I thought things were pretty cool. And
that sounds great.
Looking back on it 12 years later, I see how narrow my life was at that time. But there was a comfort level in that groove. And there wasn't much, looking back on it now, we see how little diversity there was in our life, culturally, you know, ethnicity, just everything. And so when Noelle was bored, and I'm looking at her and saying, how could you be bored with all that we've got? I mean, it's amazing, big house on the hill and all that stuff. And so when she said, I want to go explore other things as far as personal development, I realized I should pay attention to that and maybe find time in my 80-hour work week to do that as well.
Mm.
The first thing that we went to was a seminar, I think, with Peak Potentials. And we had read Harv Ecker's Millionaire Mind.
Right, Millionaire Mind.
And so they were having a free 3-day something or other. And so it was down in Dallas. We're living in Houston at the time.
We were living in Wisconsin.
We were living in Wisconsin at the time. And so I said, well, I'm going to go. Are you going to go with me? He says, I'll go. So he was one of those ones that stood in the back of the room like this.
Uh-huh.
And Noelle wants to sit in the front row.
I'm always in the front row. Yeah.
Me too.
So that was our, you know, point of departure, shall I say.
Yeah.
And then let me see, about 2008, in February 2008, Bob rewired from his job, 37-year aviation career.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that year, things just started to happen. The universe kicked us out of Wisconsin. Our house had been on the market for 2.5 years. And when we started doing this work, we've been trying to sell for 2.5 years. All of a sudden the house sold. So we have—
You were in flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were deeply steeped in materialism. When Bob said we were developing a residential air park, I mean, it was just crazy how much stuff we had.
Yeah.
And so we had to come face to face with ourselves as we, you know, were making this transition. Little did we know what we were transitioning to.
The spiritual teachers we were with at that time, I mean, there's a lot of details in that took place over the course of a couple of years, but the details, but what we came to explore and be invited to explore of ourselves were who we truly are, not what we have, we never wore what we owned in personal possessions and stuff on our sleeve, but it was a lot of stuff which occupies time. And, you know, when you have to babysit, whatever it's real estate or having a house or, you know, vehicles or this, that, or the other. And so a lot of the spiritual development, I would say for myself anyway, was a discovery of peeling back the layers of the onion, as is said, and what's there that's really important.
I think that's really true. And then I had an experience. You mentioned that I'm one of 15 children. I'm number 7. I was the 7th child, born in 7 years. And
my lucky number 7.
My second oldest sister, Michelle, she announced to the family that she had ovarian cancer and about 6 months to live. And she and I have been very close. She's about 4 years older than I am, 4 or 5. And she and I have been very close. And then we kind of had like a little ego thing where her husband didn't like me and I'm like, well, I don't like him either. And, you know, we weren't very close. When this came back, then actually my spiritual teacher helped me and said, you know, it's time to connect with your sister and apologize, accept, reconnect. So I did that. And then she invited me to come and help her through the transition. That you'll do what I ask you to do. And, you know, she had a very definite departure plan, shall we say. So she lived in West Virginia. So I moved to West Virginia and Bob followed once he finished
packing the house.
Packing the house or getting rid of the house or giving it away. Like, oh, you want this truck? Okay, you know, you want this.
Community college, you need a truck. We don't need this truck. Go.
Yep.
We did a lot of that, a lot of downloading. And so then I went to be with her and it was just like 6 months to the day. And she didn't want to be alone during that time when she left. She didn't want to be in pain. She made everything very clear. So, you know, she was a very beautiful, young. She was 61 years old. She was a children's librarian. The whole town showed up at her life celebration. just, she'd been on a 50-mile bike hike that summer. I mean, she was a hell of a great tennis player. So here she was, you know, incapacitated. And I'm thinking, like, you know, that gives you food for thought about, it was like another dive deeper into what's important in your life.
Mm.
So that's when, that was another way the Spirit just took us deeper in terms of what was really important.
There's some people, the way you asked the question, Victoria, some people discover these things through very dramatic, momentary things, death of a child or what, you know, whatever, 2000 financial crisis, whatever. And I think we've been blessed in the lack of trauma of our milestones and stepping stones, mileposts, I'll call them, along the way, because it has been this progression of looking for something different in personal development, although the title of it was Learn All About Our Secrets and Learn How to Make More Money. But through that, within a year or two, it led us to spiritual teachers who the money thing, whatever, but here's what counts at you and who you truly are. And then that led us on the way to a life of gratitude and saying yes a lot. And
I've attended that same weekend. I went to one of those 3-day full-on front of the room, listening, notebook out, taking notes on everything that's being said, and shifting because of being there. So even if we don't continue in those programs, they show up for a moment to give us a piece along, it's like the breadcrumbs along our path.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And I think for us, you know, it was an opportunity to see that there was something more that was waiting for us.
Right. So, so after my sister passed, then we were adrift from Wisconsin. We're 1,000 miles away. We know really no one in the community. And then you think, well, what's the next act? And so then Spirit says, you're supposed to go in an RV. And well, let me just back up a little bit. We met a new spiritual teacher, Barbara Marks Hubbard.
Aha.
You know very well. And Barbara Marks Hubbard, we were part of her mentor program, and we were with her for a whole year and getting ready for an event called international celebration called Birth 2012. And so December 21st, 2012, there's all the doom and gloom story, right? So Barbara Marks Hubbard says, how about if we say December 22nd, 2012 is day one of the new humanity? I said, well, now that sounds good. So we had met Barbara and we're starting to study with her. And, we had 18 months or so before we met Barbara and really got serious, and we're just fooling around with our RV, because now we have no physical home, just where our hearts are. Our homes are where our hearts are. And so Barbara said, what is your gift to the shift in humanity? So I'm going like, I don't know. I just figured out what conscious evolution is. And now you're asking me a question about that. And so Spirit said, you're supposed to go to all 48 states in your RV and tell people about Birth 2012 and conscious evolution. And so I was going like, well, I don't know that much about it. I'm just waking up, you know. And so I said, no, you're supposed to do that. And so then what we ended up doing was going to a lot of different places. I'll let Bob tell you about that. But we showed Barbara's movie from Humanity Ascending, Part 1, Our Story, and our place in the universe. And so, Bob, tell them about that adventure.
That really was an adventure. We called it the Consciously Evolving Road. We decided that we were going to go for a cruise on the Consciously Evolving Road, visit all 48 states, ended up with that plus 3 provinces in Canada. And we certainly realized not too far in it that it was our Consciously Evolving Road, because we did all the logistics and stuff ourselves, but it was an opportunity where we, as Noel said, we aren't experts and we weren't at the front room. We weren't giving a lecture about conscious evolution. What we knew how to do was drive a truck pulling a 38-foot house, and we knew how to push the play button on the movie disc.
Mhm.
But what we learned from on the Consciously Evolving Road was the significance of the relationships with others, because I mean, our events were booked somewhere between about 6 to 10 hours before we showed up, or 2 weeks ahead of time in that time frame. And so, we drove over 20,000 miles in 5.5 months. And it was an opportunity to let go of things when we were trying hard to get it in this particular city, but we never could connect with somebody and whatever. And then all of a sudden we just kind of let go. And the next town in the same state, so we could check off the state, would show up for us. And so there was just so many lessons in relationships, in finding ourselves, in letting go, in being able to laugh at the things that were happening to us that which 5 years earlier, one of the two of us or both of us would have been really emotional and upset about, and not because we were controlling it. And so it was just an amazing, amazing 5 months. And we had the opportunity to be connected literally every day that we needed to be with Barbara. And we had the opportunity to connect with some significant people that we met along the way that are lifelong, very connected soul brothers and sisters to this moment. And so a lot came from that.
Yeah, I think one of the, another thing that came from that is that we would play the movie and then we'd say, then we're going to have conscious conversation.
Right.
And Bob would say, what are we going to talk about? I said, listen.
We're just going to listen.
And it will take us where we need to go. And so again, when you just, get out of that, I've got to control this conversation, or I've got to be a factoid, or I've got to, be the fountain of wisdom. I think there's more wisdom in listening, and then we could reflect back, and we learned a lot.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot also about, this was all a self-funded tour, and we made one appointments. And I'll tell you that we were babes in the woods, because when we started out June 1st in Ocala, Florida, we had one thing booked in Atlanta. And we had, and
all we knew was we needed to be the first week of December in Los Angeles.
And so we had this, it was an amazing tour, but we had one thing booked, and then the magic just happened. Like, we got up to the Northeast, up to the area where you are now, and we're thinking like, well, we're calling, we're emailing these people. Barbara wrote a little letter for us introducing us. And so then Barbara went to the Unity Churches, has a national congress or gathering. Barbara was the keynote speaker. So she did a speech, and then we would call and they would say, oh, I was just listening to Barbara Marx Hubbard at the conference last week. Of course, doors would just start swing open. So we had one day that we did 3 states in one day.
In New England, they put the states close together.
Yeah, you could do that up here. That is true.
We parked in one state and did an event in 2 other states that day.
Yeah, but then along the way we learned
the entire script of the movie. No.
That's true.
98 showings.
98 showings. And we did finish on, wasn't it Thanksgiving?
Last one was in Phoenix and Thanksgiving.
But before we started, we never heard of a Unity Church. We never heard of the Center for Spiritual Living. We never knew thought, Unitarian Universalists. Well, we were in bookstores. One was a barn, one was a retirement home. Wherever they would have us, we would go. And looking back, I think we're really crazy, but we did it. But that was part of our evolution. Yeah. And we had a great celebration on that birth 2012. And then the next thing that happened, you want to talk about how Co-Creators Convergence emerged?
Yeah, so we finished in December. We went to Australia with Barbara and the documentary filmmaker that eventually completed a movie called American Visionary, the story of Barbara Marx Hubbard. And
we're in it.
Story on the corner there a little bit. And so we treated ourselves to going to Australia with her for the opening of Birth 2012, December 21st, 22nd, then back to Agape in LA, where the physical production of the worldwide 30-hour broadcast was taking place. And so we were a tad tired at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And while we were in Australia, we got the call that Noel's mom had fallen in the hospital, and there were questions about whether she needed to get on an airplane and go to Washington, D.C., rather than coming back to L.A. to the celebration. And Spirit, the angels, God, the universe, her mom, a devout Christian and Roman Catholic, all conspired together and said, no, you go do this 2012 culmination thing that you're supposed to do in LA. And within a week, 5 days after that, Noel was on a plane to DC, and her mom passed on January 3rd.
January 3rd.
And so by then we were on the East Coast, and the phone rang in late January, and we were told, we got a call from Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado.
Oh, yes.
So one of the nation, if not the nation's oldest spiritual intentional community, continuously operating since the 40s.
Yeah, we had done a presentation there earlier.
We had stopped there and did a presentation as a part of the tour. They asked us to stay for like 4 or 5 days and just loved it. And they called and said, Barbara's going to get an award. She didn't know it yet. From the humanities team next May, Memorial Day weekend. Why don't you, Spiritual Leadership Award from humanities team. They said, why don't you gather all of her students and have a retreat, culminating with her showing up then and getting the award from humanities team. And Noel was exhausted. Both of us were exhausted after 20,214 miles. And she said,
Well, I was still mourning my mom. I wasn't
that.
ready to jump into any.
Yep.
And how many retreats had we put on?
0. But we have met some amazing people in the 22,000 people we met on the road. So we realized, again, it's Spirit saying, this is yours, is it not? Or asking that question. And when we decided that the answer was yes, thank you, Spirit, we'll go do this. We don't know how, but we're going to go do this. And so we collected together 4 other people that have been very significant throughout the year in the Birth 2012 moon and along the road for us. And the 6 of us said, well, we invited everybody that we met on the road, plus all of Barbara's students, and 35 people showed up at Sunrise Ranch the following day for the first co-creators convergence. A very unique, not front of the room, not seminar, not lecture, not workshop thing, but it's a convergence that acknowledges everybody is in the circle. Everybody's a creator. Everybody creates with Spirit, whatever they call that, or however they hold that, and with others if they choose to do so. And so the co-creators convergence happened, and people said, well, why don't we start a Facebook group? Well, why don't we do this again next year? And we're now doing it for the 8th year. And it's a very big Facebook presence, and we have monthly calls, and we keep archives of all those monthly video calls, which has just been an amazing 7-year collection. And so we kept saying yes, is what it comes down to. In humility and gratitude. It's not our event. There's not a corporate entity. There's not an organization. It's not a membership thing. It's a recognition that we collectively are being called together. It ends up being a love theme, a love fest with a theme each year. And actually the participants are the ones that create the activity. What started as 3 days is now 5 days long.
It's now 5.
Right. So we were actually supposed to have already had it, June 3 through 7. And now we changed the time to September the 9th through the 13th, and we changed the whole topic. So each year has a different theme. So this year it is about portals of possibilities, embracing the unknown. Because I think that's exactly where we are right now. And so in this time to sustain, you have to embrace it. If you embrace the unknown, and even though you don't know where that next step is, I say the universe has a much better imagination than little old Noel, and some amazing things can happen. So that's something we're excited about. So
it's very interesting to see how different people take this time. I refer to it as the Great Disruption. And some say, well, this is the great pause. I get to stay home and I get to be reflective of my life. that's good, and that's the right thing for them, as we see it. It's also a great disruption, great disruption doesn't have to mean something negative.
No, it's a
Great disruption
good.
that people put a name on it, they put a label on it, or they start to plaster politics on it, that then they immediately, because in this country, if you use the word politics, then you're supposed to be on one of the sides or the other. And the fact is the majority of American voters are on neither of those two sides, or aren't registered on either of those two sides, don't identify with either of those two sides, or those two colors of the rainbow, or those whatever. And so disruption of the virus, to me, is nature, because a virus is nature, is a part of nature, which is a part of us in our oneness. And so it's the latest in a long string of messages that nature is trying to communicate to the humans on this planet. And so the great disruption can be a wonderful thing. For us, it also has been, frankly, very painful to see the pain that has existed for people around the world in so many different conditions, whether it's refugees or climate refugees or people in the inner city or blacks in this country and the racism that continues today. All those things existed before the virus, but the virus is providing opportunity for them to be even more visible and see how are we as individuals and how are we as a collective of humanity what are we going to do with greater exposure during this disruption? So it's an amazing time to be alive.
Right. And, getting back to Barbara Marx Hubbard, we had just, enjoyed a very wonderful relationship. In fact, Barbara Marx Hubbard ended up being our neighbor for the last 2 years of her life on Sunrise Ranch. Mm-hmm. Our RV was parked right across from her townhouse. And but Barbara Marx Hubbard is the one who got us into Pachamama.
Right.
Aha, I was wondering.
Yeah.
So you're waking up and you're seeing all these other things like, wow, okay, so what I've been told, I'm looking at everything I've been taught is what they wanted me to think. Now, when you start to think for yourself, we became more conscious and to think about our relationship with our sacred earth. And so Barbara introduced us to Pachamama, and we fell in love with it. The Awaken the Dreamer, Changing the Dream, 4-hour symposium, highly recommend it. You can take it online. Not as good. Take it the 4-hour in person if you can. And so we did that, and that just kept opening up horizons. We fell in love with Pachamama right away because the mission is to bring forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just, beneficial human presence on the planet. So we heard that mission statement and said, how do we help this? Yeah.
Yes, me too.
Yes, you did. That's how we met. So we've probably given 24 at least Pachamama symposiums, probably in about 12 different states. Still continue to travel and do that. And then, we encourage people to go on to the GCI, what's that stand?
There's a Game Changer Intensive starting right now. It started last week, and I have session 1 of this next Game Changer Intensive starts tonight with our first call.
Oh.
One of the things that we
fantastic.
Find most significant about that mission statement about Pachamama Alliance is that it's an opportunity for a conversation starter. Because if a conversation starts with, if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're this or you're that or whatever, or if the conversation starts about some issues that have been firebranded and made into by those that want us to be divided from each other, turned into trigger points for people. Mm-hmm. Fact is that Pachamama, the mission of Pachamama Alliance and having that conversation is an opportunity to invite people, not to tell them what to do or be prescriptive about what they should do, but an opportunity to say, let's look at what really matters, what's really going on, how did we get here, and the optimism and the hope of what's possible now. And the fourth question, of course, being what is to do, which is not but is for each of us to discover and rediscover. That's because by facilitating those events, we're also learning, because every group that we've done it with gives us an opportunity for other perspectives, as it has for you, and the Game Changer Intensive even more so. So we didn't know what the word white, now in the United States, the word white privilege is beat about, and does it really mean this? Are you, are you guilty? And all that that's going on. We didn't know the term until we took the Game Changer Intensive. And it was a big jump forward in our appreciation for Indigenous wisdom.
Yes.
Tell one little story.
Sure, tell a little story.
So we're taking the Game Changer Intensive, and they're talking about white privilege, and so we're going, well, yeah, is that what that makes sense. So that night we have two foster daughters, and they're from Honduras. They came to us, they're sisters. They came to us actually as teenagers, and they're going to be here next week. I mean, they're our family, and so we went out to a restaurant. I think it was something like Chipotle's or something. We're having, and it was really loud. The music was really loud. And so I said to my daughter, I said, will you go and ask the management, turn down the music so I could hear what you're saying? And she kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, what's that about? She says, you see who's behind the counter there? And I said, yeah. She says, Latinos, right? And I said, yeah. And I'm Latino. Yeah. They're not going to listen to me. I said, if you want to turn down, you've got to ask. And so I said, okay, well, let's do a little experiment. So Tanya went up there and asked them to turn down the music. Not happening. I went up there and asked them to turn down the music. Happened. And so it was like Spirit said, do you want a little lesson right now about your newfound knowledge? And just like, okay, I apologize. It probably sounds so terribly naive, but we just learn, and then you go on, no regrets.
Yeah.
Well, one of the gifts that I'm seeing, and I'm not alone, we're seeing the same, you're seeing the disruption. I'm seeing the gift of the coronavirus having us slow down, have that time to congregate with ourselves, get that inner knowing. And you're talking about listening and the conscious conversations and the beginning, your beginning story. And here you've created a lot. I'm at the beginning. Yes, this is new. It's not a new idea to me. I've been percolating with this idea of createYES, and now it is say yes to life. Increase your capacity to say yes, and know that when you take a step, the next step is there, and the next step is there. That's how I'm really coming to see it. And to hear your stories, it's highly validating that yes, just go, begin, get on the path, because it is already there.
Yeah.
And it's yours to discover. And I just love the opportunity to learn from you and other speakers that I've invited, and pass that on to the people that are attracted to my tribe of connected communicators that I'm growing now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
And the key that I hear from you and many other people is listen.
absolutely. And, I just want to go back to what Bob said, two things. One is that some people were calling this the Great Pause. And I really had a problem with that, because I said, the Great Pause, now I could do this, and now I could do that. And I'm thinking, like, what about the people that don't have a roof over their head? Are they thinking this is just a pause in their life? They can just pause and, what about that don't have enough, that don't have a job now, that can't pay their rent next month? Is this a pause? It's totally disrupting patterns. And like you both said, it's not good or bad, but it is a disruption, and the disruption serves. And one way that it served us is that we are privileged that we do now have a roof over our head. Bob's mom went to the other realm the end of February, and we came here to take care of her. And now it looks like the family thought it'd be a good idea if we bought them out and bought the home. So in a couple months, we will have our RV home as well as a physical home.
We'll be first-time homeowners for the first time in 12 years.
Yeah, which was like pretty.
Coming full circle.
It's just a government definition.
Yeah, but the disruption, it just the way that we have been able to harness it for good for ourselves is that we have always said we know the key to everything is being still, listening, and we're such doers that was very difficult for us to ever do. And a friend of ours who's in the Co-Creators Convergence, a beautiful soul named Jennifer, she said, hey, I'm going to offer a group meditation every morning, 2 times. You're welcome to join. So we said, okay, this is our time. We're signing up. Sure enough, signed up. I think we missed 1 day since she started.
Mm.
Then another thing is like someone sent us a thing, said, I'm going to send the archangels to your house and you have to prepare and do this prayer and do this ritual. We said, bring them on. We could use them. And then there was something else we started to do that.
Well, you started
Oh,
gardening.
I know what it was.
Gardening.
I started gardening. And then I was offered, someone said, Deepak Chopra has this abundance meditation, 21-day abundance meditation thing for free. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to sign up for that. So I started with that group. And then on day 5, it says, now start your own group. I thought, so I went, okay, started my own group. So I took up a group through.
Multiplier.
So like I was a week ahead of my own group. But I got to tell you that then this, what's happening now is this Friday, we're part of the, well, let me just back up a little bit. This past February, we joined a group that went to the Holy Land. And we thought like, wow, how are we ever going to afford this? But it was incredibly, we said, it's going to happen. And so actually money did come.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yes.
You say yes, and there is the way.
And it happened. We went there as part of Unity Earth, unity.earth is their website. And we went with a delegation of 100 interfaith leaders. And we went to Jordan, Israel, and Palestine. And talk about exploding our worldview.
This was the Conscious Evolution Tour International for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have to drive. Somebody else drove the bus. They planned everything. We ate a lot of food.
We just had to show up.
But it was
and pray.
Stunning.
It was stunning. And that group now has is putting on, in fact, this week, a thing called World Unity Week.
Started yesterday.
And so we said yes to being part of that. And I just asked a friend of mine who I know is very close to Marianne Williamson. And I said, do you think you could ask her if she'd want to be one of our speakers? And yes,
She said
came
yes
back.
within a day.
And then another friend said, I'm good friends with Jean Houston. Would you like to have her as part of your?
Yes.
And so I said, yes. And Jean said, yes. And so we have like 12 hours of content, just amazing people.
It's coming Friday.
This coming Friday, June 26th, starting at 8 a.m. And if you want to learn more about it, just go to worldunityweek.org. And so we're going to have on that Friday what we're calling World Co-Creators Convergence Day.
Right.
And so many of these beautiful people have been part of our group. I think we have about 20 plus, I'll say, Unity activators, and wonderful conversation, and really looking forward to it. So you, Victoria, I know are aware of it and hope you can participate. I know you have your summit you're getting prepared for, and hope your listeners might want to join us.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely. One of the main reasons I'm recording these sessions and putting them up as recordings is so that the speakers and myself, we don't have to be tied to a certain time of day. You can access the content when you want, and then there will be new, and then there will be new, and then there will be new. But then we can also do other things. This is a profoundly full week with the solstice and the indigenous ceremonies and World Unity Week and Pachamama Alliance engaging in their process. There's so much to do right now.
Mhm.
And there, if we choose, we can make time and create time for all of them. So yes, you will see me at least part of the day, if not most of the day, on Friday.
Fabulous.
Wonderful.
Yes, we're having Mary Ann from 2 to 3 and Jean Houston following her from 3 to 4. And, but I'm telling you, we're starting out in the UK with a trans medium author who has brought through 8 books. And, it's just amazing wisdom for these times. And
The Joseph Communications.
right. And White Eagle Teachings started also in London. We're actually bringing in, I don't know if you're familiar with Dominher, Italy. Dominher,
Yes.
D-A-N-H-U-R. It's an eco-spiritual community that started in, the late 70s?
Yeah.
About 700 people live there, and they have their own society within society. They have their own currency. They have their own governance. They call themselves like a laboratory for humanity and how we possibly live.
Right.
And they're living it. So we're having a guest from Italy, and then we're having a lot of guests from all over the United States. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, we're very
You might be
excited.
able to tell.
Yeah. And maybe
all
thanks to you, your guest is the same as my guest on the summit coming up later. Is it the same guest?
Who's
Tigrilla?
who?
Oh, yeah. No, we're having a Asparaday.
Oh, okay. Well, so I also, one of our speakers for createYES Summit is Tigrilla Gardenia. You will be hearing from her later.
Wonderful.
Yes.
She's a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful soul.
She is part of the sacred forest there. That's the thing about Dominher is that they're about interspecies communication, and Tigriya herself has worked with music of the plants. And we actually have one of the music of the plants machines. So the music of the plants, they have their own CD. So you can, and they have lots of use, but they're also about the sacredness of the earth. And where they also have a temple for humankind that goes almost 7 or 8 stories inside a mountain. They dug by hand in secret, and it makes the Sistine Chapel look like
Legos.
It's amazing art.
It's amazing.
Wow.
And it's honoring every belief system on the planet, and that's for the good of humanity.
So
And,
this attitude in our lives now of saying yes and being open to different beliefs, systems, and being the hardest job for me is not being judgmental of those that haven't been saying yes, I guess, but have been listening to other people telling them what they're supposed to think and how they're supposed to act around other human beings and the planet. This saying yes and being humble in that is what has made so much joy in our life and been able for us to bring it forward, because we've been to Domher 2 times and we were blessed
we
with that.
took a group there one time.
Yeah, the second time we actually, most of the group were people that we brought to the party. And so now it's possible for when something like Unity Earth comes up for us to say, wait a second, we got to pick up the phone and call the folks at Domher, because they're going to make such an incredible contribution, as they will in your summit, incredible contribution during Unity Week. And so they may have heard about it by somebody else. That's fine. We're not looking for who got them in, who got them up. But we are excited about the world hearing. That's why one of the labels that we give ourselves, other people give us quite a few labels, but one of our labels,
Planter.
Connector for Good.
Yes.
And so Blabbermouth for Good, Noel calls it.
Yeah, I said we're blabbermouths for good.
Ah, yeah, that's great.
It's fun. It's fun. And I would say that I don't know how much more time we have, Victoria, but we're okay. One of the questions that really got us activated was Barbara Marx Hubbard's, what is your gift to the shift in humanity? And I would say, I would encourage your listeners to really ponder that question, write it down, put it under your pillowcase, whatever. That has opened up so much for us. And we're involved in politics, environment protests. I think we've been arrested in DC twice, and
Each.
me with Jane Fonda and Bob with Ted Danson and others. But you know, it's like we really do respect the sacredness of the earth, and actually feel that, you know, there's so much that we were so unconscious about. And so I find the best way to stay out of judgment is to remember Noel 10 years ago. Just totally unconscious about, you know, hey, throw that in the trash. Who cares? Get this, get that. So that's one thing I would say is was a real gift to us, that one question. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's environmental issues, if it's water issues, well, of course, water is part of the environment. If it's, you know, eco-racism, we're also part of an organization called createYES. And we're involved in political things like getting fair vote, equal vote. I don't know, I think they have that up in Maine, where you can rank choice vote your, you know, for like there are 4 people from running for office. You don't have to pick eeny, meeny, or miny. You know, you can say
The political machine has given you to choose from.
right. You know,
But the 2 that they've given
a lot
you
of
to choose
people
from.
say, okay, it's worse or worser. So,
Right.
you know, their Represent Us is doing a lot. In fact, they just had a wonderful short video come out all about racism and what we can do about it.
Yeah.
And
They have excellent educational videos by Michael Douglas and by Jennifer Lawrence, who are both on their board of directors. It's all about representing the people, not representing the money and the lobbyists. And
getting
so,
corruption out of our country.
right.
Some of your viewers may not know that HR 1 is the Anti-Corruption Act, American Anti-Corruption Act. And it's about getting money out of politics. It's about, you know,
Transparency and foreign money being in
transparencies.
our politics, a lot of things.
Yeah.
It was passed within a couple of weeks when the new Congress came into session in 2016.
Well, it's passed in the House, but
Passed in the
of course,
House. It'll
not
never be
much
seen in the
happens in the
Senate.
Senate.
And so, yeah, these are all things that for us, you know, we kind of pick and choose how we can, where we spend our day. We know when it comes to the United States, the issue number 1 is money and politics, because everything that does and doesn't happen in this country when it comes to policy, laws, and everything else relates to that subject. I mean, you can draw a line from incarceration, the incarceration rates in this country being over the top 2 times worse than any place else in the world, including the countries that we're told are bad places. And you can trace it all the way back. You find your way back to where's the money and what's going on. Yeah. So
Right.
we know that's issue number 1 there, and we know issue number 1 in the world is whether we humans are going to get to continue, whether our grandchildren are going to continue to be able to live here, or whether it's going to be a do-over, because Mother Earth will have her do-over, and as she's done before. And we know in our hearts that issue number 1 for each of us as individuals is to throw away that which isn't serving us and find who we truly are, and then live our life in that.
So that right there is a great tip for anyone listening. Want to repeat that?
Yeah, what did I say? For us, this isn't for, it is for everyone, I think. It's just we find it with different vocabulary or religion or not religion or whatever it might be, is to know who we truly are, who our authentic self is. Some people call that higher self, and you know, different terminology for it. But when we discover who we are and then live our life as that, then we're contributing.
Well,
that is exactly the point here, that when we look at that inner self, when we have that inner knowing, we really can affect the greater environment in ways that we may not ever be able to know when we first start looking in.
Right, indeed.
One of the guests we're going to have, I mentioned him briefly, his name is Michael Rachia, and he is a transmedian in the UK and brought through the Joseph Communications. And I highly recommend it
Yeah,
if you,
very much so.
you know, The Course in Miracles and The Law of One and some of these others, even Edgar Casey, they're kind of difficult to read. But the Joseph Communications are so rich in wisdom. And the first book addresses that whole question. Who are you? It's called Revelations,
Right.
revealing who you really are as a spirit being. And it goes through how you got here, and it's just like an amazing series. But the reason I like it is because it's so easy to read. You know? Okay, just give me the facts and not information, but you just get, for me,
Like a download.
yes, it's just like the book just completely said, I'm yours and I've got some great stuff for you. So that's josephcommunications.com. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And not that, all the other books, I'm just saying, maybe I'm just a little bit lazy, or maybe I just want to express a little simpler. But
I would say if you had a recommendation of books, because our website, lightpartners.org, that's Noel and I, our moniker, I guess, our website. It's really, when someone said to us, well, you don't have a website a few years ago, someone said, you don't have a website. We said, well, we aren't selling anything. And they say,
Right.
you have all these resources and places, pointers to tell people, which you're telling people one at a time. Just put it on a website. And then, so we did that. And so our website's really about resources, documentary movies, books, organizations, movements.
where we are.
I mean, we can, as you know from Pachamama, we could have a list of good organizations doing good things and name their names and be here for the next 4 years naming their names.
Yes.
But what's on our website is things we've had personal experience with, and that list keeps growing as well as the books. I think that we would probably say, when it comes to books, that the spiritual and worldview, humanity worldview for us would probably be the Joseph Communications.
Right.
And the book for America and where America is today, America's society, America, everything that's going on and everything that we refer to as politics here, would be Marianne Williamson's book she wrote just about a year ago, called The Politics of Love, a handbook for the new American Revolution. Because she doesn't, as she did when she was on the debate stage, presidential debate stage, and got about 15 seconds to talk, she doesn't talk about the program or the solution. She talks about the fundamental, what's wrong underneath of here. It isn't about who should pay for health care. It's why are we so damn sick? And that's the question that nobody asked, because there's no money in asking and answering that question. And so that book is about that. And the idea of a new American Revolution is, we were, when we were the colonies, we were bossed around by some, elite in another country.
Government.
And so the fact is, today we're being bossed around by an elite, very small group, and
Doesn't matter what party.
And it happens.
No, it doesn't matter.
And but it's now businesses. It's not the King of England. And so that's why she says a handbook for the new American Revolution, because we should be just as passionate and just as revolting that we want to say, we are the people. We have this beautiful experiment going on called America, and this beautiful opportunity to see unity in our diversity. And we need to be acting on that. So that would be our top book for the United States, probably.
Right. Well, I do have one tip. Okay, can I offer one tip? I know we've got to close very soon. When we went around the country, people were, I would say one of the major comments was, I'm all alone. And
if you're in Oxford, Mississippi, and you're a conscious evolutionary, you feel alone. If you're in Fargo, North Dakota, you tell us you feel alone.
But you know what? People came out of the woodworks, and the people, our hosts, were surprised how many people came out. Yeah. But no, that's not the tip.
No.
So the tip has, as we went around the country, they also said, well, how do I talk to like my brothers and sisters or my neighbors, and they don't think this way at all. And so that's why we got involved with the Food Revolution Network. When you can talk to something that you have common ground with, and you talk about glyphosate, and you talk about ag-gag rules, and you talk about things that you know, what's happening with the runoff from these factory farms into our rivers. And then you talk about, shine a little light on how all these rules are going for the corporation's bottom line, not for our health. And so that's one of the ways we plant a seed, to be able to have a conversation. And then what's embedded in that is, if they're lying to you about that, or they're not taking care of you that way, what other ways is your best interest not being served? So we answered that. That kind of evolved during our trip, and we still are. I think we've been involved with the Food Revolution Network with the John and Ocean Robbins, and John Robbins, of course, wrote that classic book in the '60s about American for
Die for New America, or Die for a New World, or something like
Die
that.
for New John Robbins, and now his son Ocean joins him. So that's one way to plant seeds. But like you said, yeah, we were called Johnny Appleseed as we went around the country. But,
Has anyone ever called you psychic?
Has anybody ever called us psychic? No,
Yes.
not yet.
That is the word that comes to mind for me in this interview, because as you guys have been going in communication and conversation with each other, you'll say something and I was like, oh, okay, I want to ask you about, and then you answer my question. And then you go on, oh, I want to ask about, and then you answer my question. Oh, I want to, and it's been this whole time, I want to ask about, and you are answering the question. So today you are psychic, or our minds are one, something. It's just flowing without the questions being even asked.
Our friends
That's
at
awesome.
Her offered us an explanation for things like that. They just have a different angle on it. So they say that we like skip, you or we or both skipped our timeline by like a millisecond or something. That's what's happening. In their belief, they say if you misplaced your car keys and you can't figure out where they are, you're absolutely positive you put them on the countertop or the fireplace. It's because the keys, you departed the same timeline for a moment. I mean,
That is very fascinating. We do have this multi-universe idea.
Yeah. So you just jumped ahead in the timeline and asked us a question, and then we answered.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Something.
Let's call it that. Let's call that the answer.
Unspoken questions the whole time. Really demonstrating your spiritual activism right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
And
it's been fun for us, and it's, you know, it's an opportunity to, it's fun.
It's been fun being with you, Victoria.
Yeah.
Oh, and you. And what I really love is the resource that you have put together on your website, lightpartners.org, correct?
Yes.
LIGHT. Some people think it's life partners, but no, we want to bring more light to the planet.
Yes. But you have collected a lot of wonderful resources, and that's one thing that I want to do as well, is collect people, resources, ideas, seed planters, anything that, like, I've been a seeker of information, of learning, of connection, of growth for, you know, ever. And now it's time to let those seeds germinate and start sending out the new seeds. Right. And I really love the Full Circle and our Pachamama connection and the Sunrise Ranch connection. It was great when I got Braden up there for the Indigenous elders.
Yeah.
And there's just so much Full Circle. And I really look forward to having conversation with you again some other time. And I invite you and everybody in our new and growing createYES community to get engaged on that Facebook group and have discussion. What popped up for you in this conversation? And do this for the whole 2 weeks, and who knows where the conversation will take us at the end of the 2 weeks.
You bet.
Absolutely. Yeah. No limit to what we can co-create.
Indeed. So we will have all of your websites listed up in that group, and we'll make sure everybody can reach you in all of these different ways. And again, remind everybody about World Unity Week and your event on Friday. It starts at
8 a.m. Eastern. And Kathy Mason of Mason Works Marketing is in Boulder, is co-creating that with Bob and I. So we'll start out with an introduction, then we'll go to Michael in the UK. We'll go all day. One of our last guest is Deborah Poneman. And her website is Yes to Success.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, so you don't want to miss that one. And I
No.
think it's from 10 to 11 o'clock at night. So we're having a very full day. And you can go to our lightpartners.org website. We'll have a link over to the schedule. And then you can also go to co-creatorsconvergence.com. And co-creators convergence, all just like one big word, no apostrophes or any of that kind of stuff, .com. And that will lead you to our schedule. You'll see WUW World Unity Week schedule, and it'll pop you over to our page and you'll see all of our guests. And we will have some mystics and psychics.
Yeah, we'll be interviewing the psychics.
Yes.
We'll just pretend like we know what the question is, and they'll answer for an hour.
And World Unity Week is happening all week, even
All
starting
week.
all week. So people can go to worldunityweek.org or .com?
Or
worldunityweek.org, all spelled out.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
then you
a big long list.
scroll down and there are about 20 different stages. We're in the bottom row. Nothing personal, but co-creators convergence is in the bottom row. And
so there's actually a main hall, which is broadcasting live on that front page. And then, as Noel said, when you scroll down, they have what they call convergence rooms. And there's a palette of, I don't know, 30 of them. Youth and families, eco things, community things, yoga, education,
films.
government, a film festival is going on all week.
Right.
It's all about unity and peace. And where do we together discover how and where we go next?
And it's all warm up. So this has just like exploded.
Yeah.
There's over 200 partners putting this together, if you can imagine.
Mm.
It's just exploded, and it's really a warm up for Peace Week. So September 21st is the International Day of Peace, according to the UN. And so that weekend is going to be another Papapalooza or whatever of unity and peace. So look for that. So we kind of have our training wheels on for this event, and then really looking forward to Peace Week in the end of September, third week of September. So keep
There is something for everyone. I invite everyone to go and look at all of these different events, because the thing is there that might spark your shift.
right.
And once we shift, once we expand, you can't go back. I mean, you shift, and it's forward, and it's evolutionary. So evolve with us this week.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So both for joining me today and us in this community. And I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Bob and Noel,
Thank you.
Victoria.
All right. Much love. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.